Oliver, hi, how you doing?
Okay, should I put you on speaker?
Yeah.
Do you want me to do this as well?
Okay, so anybody got a question for Oliver and the guys? Yeah. Right, but we're just going to get a question from you guys.
The film did a really great job of capturing very tight London spaces, and it was obviously all, I don't know, I couldn't tell how much was shot on set and how much was actually shot in real spaces. So can you tell a little bit about filming in those tight spaces and creating that kind of really enclosed, small, London, flat type environments? I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, Oliver, did you hear the question?
No, we need to repeat it, please.
Okay, ladies asked, can you talk a little bit about your filming technique in kind of giving the impression of kind of filming in small spaces in London and the kind of that kind of giving the impression of, you know, that, how you did that on filming?
Right. Yeah, well, I suppose the interesting thing to talk about there would be the scene in the boys' bedroom, the scene in the boys' bedroom where he sees his old bedroom with the little boys in there now, you know, he goes to his old house.
Yeah.
And what we did when we shot that scene is, because it was a very small room, we shot with a really, really wide angle lens, put it right in the doorway, and what we could do then is play with the way that the wide angle lens distorts things. So at the beginning of the scene, Rob's in the foreground and he looks really, really massive, and there's this tiny little boy because he's a little further away. And as the scene moves on, Rob moves around onto the bed and becomes smaller, and the little boy stands up and comes towards the camera, and he suddenly becomes much larger. So you get this kind of strange, skewed perspective on them.
Yeah.
And as the scene goes, he kind of gets smaller and smaller, becomes like kind of becomes a little child again, and the little child becomes bigger. There's a lot of things we do like that when we try to play with people moving around. And to a lot of the film, I'm using actually quite wide lenses and keeping that consistent, and then playing with the distortion within the frame.
Gotcha. And roughly how much was shot on set and how much was out and about in real places?
It was about 50-50, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Yeah, you go right there. Oliver, the question is, what was the inspiration and the thoughts behind the complex relationship between Art and his parents?
Complex relationship.
What was the inspiration behind it, and the thoughts behind it?
Well, when I was researching the movie, what I was doing a lot was reading all the self-help books and therapy books and child rearing books, and I read kind of hundreds and hundreds of these over the first year when I wrote the script. And one of the things that I noticed that came out consistently in all the different doctrines was that consistency was the most vital thing when you bring up a kid. And everyone can agree on that. You can be kind of consistently liberal or consistently conservative or strict, but as long as you're consistent, that child in theory will have a strong sense of self, and they'll be able to go out in the world and figure it out for themselves. So I took a look at that. I thought that was really interesting. Looking at people I knew and their parents, realising there's little bits of inconsistency that kind of is the human flaw. It's very hard not to change your mind and react to things differently, and that actually is something that can really mess people up. So I kind of thought with the parents, there was kind of this strange inconsistency going on. So also in that opening sequence when the father's telling him to burn all his toys as a kind of macho aggressive thing, and then going inside to watch boxing, it's just like spelling it out really simply in a kind of comedic way. But that's kind of what's going on with his marriage. He doesn't really understand what the rules are the whole time, and that's why his relationship with them is kind of awkward and confused, because he doesn't know what he should be doing or when he should be doing it. And so they can never actually communicate freely. That was kind of the idea of the parents.
Right, yeah, next question. Anyone else? Yeah? The question was, Oliver, in what ways do you think the film captured the contrast between the upper class and lower class? Or maybe had a comment about classes?
Not really, because I think the movie's basically about middle class people, so there's no kind of other value system in place other than middle class values, and no upper class at all, that's in there. In a way, that's perhaps me looking towards American cinema, which doesn't tend to kind of focus on class in the same way that English cinema does. So within that film, it's kind of, I used to joke that it's a film about mediocrity, because in a way, a lot of like middle class values are about that kind of mediocrity. There's no extreme wealth or extreme poverty. But within that, it's actually quite a fertile ground for humour. It's my feeling.
Yeah. We've got the composer and the actors, Ronnie and Nikki, in the States as well, in case anybody wants to ask any questions. Any other questions for the guys?
Shall I just get everyone to say hi that's here so people can hear?
Yeah, good idea.
Everyone's going to just stick into the thing and introduce themselves. They're all here in the room with me right now. So first of all, hello, I'm Johnny. I played Ronnie in the film.
They love you, Ronnie.
It's Michael. I play Ricky Field.
They love you too, Nikki.
It's just taking the top off. I'm not sure I made that as a joke.
And have you got Joe there as well? Yeah.
Yeah.